Special day today. I'm going to stall as long as we can until Nachman Seltzer shows up because there's a special email about him. A very, very hurtful email indeed. Hi, I'm dedicating Wednesday's shir in honor of my 50th birthday. So happy birthday to Yaakov Rosedale. Where's the balloon? There's a balloon. Oh, here it is. Are you able to zoom out on this balloon? Let's see you guys work the camera. I am dedicating Wednesday's shir in honor of my 50th birthday, which is June 9th. We go by the, whatever. 1970. You're going to have to do another dedication on your Hebrew birthday. The shir has become a major focus of every day. Since I started in Masechtas Makis, I've been lucky to get Torah in every day without fail. It's true. When Yaakov is not here, he watches online. Love the shir. So listen how this goes. He loves the shir. Then goes Rebelli. That's number 2. The guys is number 3. And most importantly, Reb Nachman Seltzer, who has been sitting across from me for a long time now. Thank you very much to the Daf team for making this such an incredibly credible daily experience. So Yaakov sits right next to me, the closest to me, and then across from him is Nachman Seltzer, and they have big schmoozes going on before we start the shir. The shir is also dedicated in memory of Yaakov's youngest brother, Yehuda ben Esther, who was born on June 8th, 1993, and passed away in 2016 at a young age of 22. He was delighted in his entire family and all the people who knew him. You are missed. Yaakov Rosedale. So happy birthday, Yaakov. Ad Me'ah Esrim. Looking forward. And it's not the time or place now, but Yaakov once gave us a very, very long speech. An incredible, it could be like a whole, it sounds almost like the incredible story that Nachman Seltzer wrote. What? It involved motorcycles and gangs and who knows what, all sorts of crazy stuff. Anyways, this is from David. I began the daf after watching a lot of Jews freezing in a stadium in New Jersey. I do the 8-minute as a warm-up cheat sheet, and then the rabbi in Miami has one at 6:45, and if I'm lucky, I get the 2:15 p.m. one also. Tada, David Rubin. And one last short one. Today we have a lot to learn. By the way, this is from Shimon Meir. These pictures sent out on WhatsApp are really helpful. Everything else too. Thanks to you, I'm up to date with the daf. It feels so great. Bo Shabbos, Bo Menucha. See, here's a person who's writing Bo Shabbos, Bo Menucha in the opposite sense. Not that Bo Shabbos, Bo Menucha, you're out of the game and you give up the daf. The opposite. Okay, you know what? We're going to reread the email because a certain individuals just walked in. Not you, Levi. Here, let's read it, Nachamal. Where is it? Okay, no, I should have actually started the other way. Listen to this. Since I started Masechtas Makis, I've been lucky to get Torah in every day without fail. Love the shir, Reb Eli, the guys, and most importantly, Reb Nachman Seltzer, who's been sitting across from me for a long time now, dedicated by Yaakov Rosedale for his 50th birthday. So he threw me under the bus. You didn't even show up on time. Hashem Yirachem. Zokte Heilige Gemara. Believe it or not, there's a hug going on. Don't get too excited. This doesn't happen often. We're holding on the top line of today's daf, Daf Tzadik Vav. Omer Ravasi, Shoinin Klicheres Shiuroi Bekoinen Mashka. Shoinin, Rashi says, Hatanoim Shoinin Braisa. You can read it any way you want. You can read it Tanoim, literally Tanoim, or you can read it the people that would say over the Braisas to the Amoraim, nothing to do with the Tanoim. They said a Braisa. Shoinin, and they would read Klicheres Shiuroi Bekoines Mashka. So if you have earthenware that has a hole in it that's large enough to take on liquid, if you have a kli that has a small hole in it and liquid leaves it, that's something else because they have the pressure of the liquid, it'll go through that hole. But to get liquid going in the opposite direction into the kli, that's a much, much larger hole. So that is the shir, as we said yesterday. We started off saying yesterday, we discussed a piece of gistera. Gistera is a shard of earthenware, a broken piece of earthenware. What are you going to do with this piece of earthenware? Nothing. But yes, there is one thing you could do. If this kli cheres has a small hole, I will take this broken piece that typically I throw into the garbage, and I put it underneath my kli to catch whatever liquid it's holding. What if this gistera has a hole? I'm not gonna keep it. I'm not gonna do a gistera to a gistera. Says the Gemara, therefore, v'lo yamru moitzi mashka elo le'inyan gistera bilvad. So, though Rava said yesterday, he started off with this gistera moitzi mashka. Chamish midas b'klicheres nikav k'moitzi mashka tor miltam al-gisra v'dayin kliu l'kadish by mechatos. In other words, Rav is saying, the Gemara is saying, that this halacha of liquid leaving the kli was only said by a broken piece of earthenware, which is not really a kli, and therefore it doesn't really make the list. It's before, it's the pre-list, because it's not a kli. We're not dealing with a kli. We're dealing with a broken piece of a kli. What's the shear of a broken piece of a kli? Enough of a hole that if liquid leaves that, then it's completely garbage. Obviously, it's not going to be mikabel tuma. If it has such a small hole that water leaves it, it can't even do the basics of the basic. Like, why are you keeping this broken piece of earthenware? Just to catch water, but it can't even catch water because it has a hole. So what are you going to do? Bring a broken piece to catch the water that's leaving a broken piece? That doesn't make any sense. Therefore, it doesn't even start. Omar Ula, Pligiba Trey Amaroy B'Marava. This is machlokes between two Amaroyim in Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Yossi bar Ravav and Rabbi Yossi bar Zavda. B'nageh to what? Hechsher Zerayim. So we said yesterday, I don't know, I'm going to guess it's one of the most famous concepts in Shas. The Hechsher of Eichlin. In other words, in order to make food, muchshir l'kabel tuma, food cannot become tamei unless you pour one of the 7 liquids on it. A concept discussed over and over and over in all of Shas. And we said that only happens if it's detached from the ground. If it's attached to the ground, it does not work. Yet there is a case that it will work. If it's not halachically attached to the ground. In other words, if it's in a pot. So what constitutes a pot? So it's mikatza la katza. It's basically from the smallest shear to the largest shear. If it has a hole the size of a pomegranate, then you agree to me that it definitely nourishes from the ground. It's such a large hole in the bottom of the pot. We're just continuing the sugya of yesterday, so we're not going into all the details. I'm assuming that everybody is holding cup with what we learned yesterday. That if you have a hole in the bottom of the pot, depends what size, it can nourish from the ground. We had a Shaila, a Usaba, maybe it was the Eliyahu Navi, maybe it wasn't, who asked, what if the shayrish, the root, is sticking out or pointing down through that hole? But we have a machlokes here. What if the pot is completely sealed off? Then this plant that grows in here, these zrayim, these seeds, these edible food, these edible seeds, are not connected to the ground, and therefore, if I pour water on them, they are mikabel tuma. However, if they have a hole the size of a pomegranate, not. And the other one says, wait a minute, you don't need the size of a pomegranate. Let's say the size of a pomegranate is this big. Yeah, pomegranates are nice. The size of a shayrish, that's small. So you're going from huge to whatever shayrish is. I don't know. I'm just guessing, like this. Okay? Size of a small root. B'simanach, echad ha'marba ve'echad ha'mamed. One of everybody's favorite Gemaras, the end of Menachos. Here he is. Judah's in town. If you have no, he just made it up right now. He just made it up. Beautiful, beautiful, original. You heard it here live. You heard it. Shlakrak. Oh, okay. They also just made it up. So, but what's the big yesod in all of Yiddishkeit is that it doesn't matter how much you give. It doesn't matter how big your carbon is. It could be a large carbon, or it could be a bowl of flour. as long as the intent, Rahmana Liba Bayir, the Rebbeinu Shalom wants what's in your head. Brought down la halacha also. It's better to daven less psuki de zimra with more kavana than a lot of psuki de zimra without kavana. It goes throughout Yiddishkeit, this concept. So if you want to remember, what's the Gemara saying? The Gemara is saying that it's the two opposites. He said harbe, a rimoin, and he said mamit, the smallest shear. Now what happened to the other shiurim that we had yesterday? Or even we mentioned today, moitzi mashke, machnis mashke, those are pinholes. They for sure don't count. Nobody even thought that that's going to be a shear to get rid of hechsher tumah. We're talking about enough to nourish from the ground. Yeah? When we're talking about, think about it, when we're talking about tumah, what constitutes a kli? What takes a kli away? What removes a shem kli? If it has a hole, it doesn't serve its purpose. So even a small hole doesn't hold liquids, or it could bring on liquids. That's when it comes to the Shem Tumah. But when it comes to Hechsher Zrayim has all to do with whether the Zrayim in the pot are nourishing from the ground. No one in their right mind is going to say that if it has a pinhole on the bottom of the Kli, that it's going to nourish from the ground. It's not going to nourish from the ground. So that's not even on the list. What's going to nourish from the ground? Maybe if a root could poke out, or certainly if there's the size of a pomegranate. Great. Omar Rav Chineno bar Kahana b'shmei Rebbe Eliezer. Kli cheres shi'uroi kemoitzi zeisim. Like we said yesterday, Rava holds that, or Rava was just actually repeating over, making a sikum, making a synopsis of all the Mishnayos, Kalim, or whatever the shear is a zayis. An olive's worth removes the status of a kli. Excuse me. In other words, so this is a little different than Rav. These kalim, a kli that has a hole the size of an olive, has a halacha like a kli, my favorite kli, personally, a dung kli, a kli made out of animal waste, everybody's favorite kli, uchlei avanim, a kli made out of stones, uchlei adama. That what? That they're not mekabel tum at all. Lo b'divrei Torah, lo b'divrei sefer. What about if I take this kli that has a hole the size of an olive, and I say, I want to use it to hold pomegranates? What's the halacha? According to this man or nothing. According to what we learned yesterday, it has to do with his das. So if he decides he wants to hold pomegranates, then it's a kli for pomegranates, as long as he said so. According to this man no, it's like klei gelalim, klei avanim, not pomegranates. Once it has the hole the size of an olive, we're done. So yesterday I had this amazing halacha that if you have a kli cheres in a room that has oil ameis, you have a dead person in the room, and everything in the room becomes tamei through oil, the kli cheres can protect whatever's inside of it, provided that the kli cheres is sealed, completely closed. Now what if it has a nice hole on the side? The tumah doesn't go in through the side. The tumah only goes through the front, through the top of the kli. But if the hole is so large that it makes up 51% of the entire kli, then the tumah could go in, or as we said yesterday, the difference between a large kli and a small kli, maybe even a size of a pomegranate in a small kli, according to Rashi, Taisus argues. And with that, Hadrun Allah Hamatzniya, Hadrun Allah Hamatzniya, Hadrun Allah Hamatzniya. Ready made a bracha. Says the Mishnah, Hazoreik Mirshus Hayochid Lushus Harabim. Look, we started off the Masechta with Chaytzah, and we had a prayer before on Chaytzah. Chaytzah is like a big theme in Masechta Shabbos. And Chaytzah happens to be like Malacha Grua. Taisus, all the way in the beginning of the Masechta, says the reason why we start with Chaytzah is because it was a Malacha Grua. What does Halacha Grua mean? It's very important because we're going to discuss it today slightly. Malacha Grua means that in all the malachas, if you think about it, HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Shabbos stopped creating. So you need to stop creating on Shabbos. So therefore you can't bake a bread. It makes a lot of sense. You can't build because you're creating. Haitzah, you're not creating anything. You're taking an object from your house into Rosh Hashanah. You created zero, nothing changed. The object, nothing changed in the object. In fact, if you take this exact object and you walk around your house all day long, and it's very heavy, you're not over anything. So because I go out into another domain, so that's why all of a sudden I'm chayiv. It needs a lot of explanation. And the reason is because that's what they did in the Mishkan. But you're not creating anything. All malachas you're creating, you're grinding, you're this, you're that. Whatever you're doing, you're sewing, you're creating. This has nothing to do with it's not similar to what the Rebbeinu Shalom stopped doing. He stopped creating, and he didn't stop going from one domain to another domain with something in his hand or whatever. L'mashal. So this is a malacha grua. And therefore, it's very specific. It has to work in very specific ways, exactly like they did it in the Mishkan. It says the Mishnah, "Azoyreg mishus hayachal l'shus harabim." And this happens a lot. You take a ball, you throw from your backyard into Rishus harabim. Mirshus harabim l'shus hayachid. Chayav. You're chayav. So until now, we were talking about carrying it. Now we're talking about throwing it. Rishus hayachid l'shus hayachid v'rishus harabim be'emtza. What if you threw it from one house to another house, but there was a Rishus Harabim in between? Now, it's not as simple as I said. It says Rebbe Kiva Mechayev, Aser, V'chachamim Poitrim, and Chachamim say it's Potter. Why? Keitzad. So now we're going to explain Chacham a little bit. Shtei Gzus Terois, there were two porches. Zu Keneged Zu B'Rishus Harabim. One opposite the other. HaMoishet v'hazorik mezulazu potter. We have a picture. It's important to understand. Here's the Rosh Hashanah going down the middle, and here's a guy, this is Yoni, passing a broom from one side of the Rosh Hashanah, from one Rosh Hashanah to the other Rosh Hashanah. Like this looks like Meir Sharim kind of. There's a porch to a porch, and he passes something from one to the other. That is, according to Chachamim, potter. Here's the kicker. But what happens, the same exact case, you are chayiv if it looks like this. Look, two porches, and there's a Rosh Hashanah underneath the porches. Nevertheless, they are potter. What's the difference? It's porch to porch, Rosh Hashanah in between, but they're different directions. And the answer is, the Mishnah explains. This is how it worked in the Beis HaMikdash and the Mishkan. The wagons will pull up like a train, one in back of the other. But two trains. You guys remember the F train from Brooklyn? You know what I'm talking about? Yes. Okay. No, I used to take the F train every day. When you were in New York, you got one of these passes. If you're a student, you just go for free. So I used to just go for free. Sometimes to yeshiva, sometimes in the opposite direction, wherever the train took me. Anyway, whatever. I used to go a lot on the train, the F train, transfer, sometimes when I learned the Passaic, whatever. The whole Port Authority, Mises. I could write a book about the train, literally. The train is the most interesting place in New York. Which one? Oh, that one. Nachman likes the Misa. I don't know. Fine. So check this out. Very interesting. They pulled up with two wagons, like a train, into the Mishkan. This is the Mishkan. Now they would take off the wood from here, transfer it to this wagon. Occasionally, they would transfer it to the first wagon, the furthest away from the Mishkan, because that's how you load up. You load up from the back of the truck to the front of the truck to the back of the truck, right? To the furthest distance. And so this guy would bring beams, he would pass it to him. They would load up this wagon first, then load up the closest wagon to the Mishkan. But check this out. There's another row. They pulled up another 2 wagons over here. Never did it go from this wagon to this wagon. There's no reason to pass wood from the F train going northbound to the F train going southbound. That never happened. From car 1 to car 2, yes, that happens all the time.
That's okay because it's one car though. Maybe that's most shape because it's one vehicle.
No, it's not one vehicle.
It's not considered.
Yeah, but check this. 1 minute. Between this wagon, which is Rosh Hashanah, right? We all understand each one is Rosh Hashanah. It's connected, but there's Rosh Hashanah in between. You can see the ground. Doesn't matter. So what if it's connected? You're going over Rosh Hashanah. At the end of the day, you're going over the Rosh Hashanah.
But it's one vehicle, it's one car. There's a hole in the car.
So the building is one building.
It's not connected.
It's not. It looks like it's not.
It's not connected. It's two different ways.
It shows over here that there's a little hitch. It could be connected. At the end of the day, there's a lot of room here, a lot of Rosh Hashanah over here, and it's going over the Rosh Hashanah. Yeah, so that explains it. You understand, Yaakov? That's why, and it has to be very specific. Since Hoitzah is a malacha grua, it has to be very exact, exactly like it worked in the Mishkan and nothing else. In the Mishkan, bad, terrible. It's a bad malacha. In other words, it almost doesn't make sense, this malacha, and therefore it has to be specific. And in those days, in the Mishkan, there was a lot of passing from one. I have to check this out for a second. There was a lot of passing from one wagon to the other wagon, but not so much throwing. Avaloi zarkin. Why was there no throwing in the Mishkan? Rabbi say, why was there no throwing in the Mishkan? Time out. Racham says because it's not covered. And you say because of damage. Anybody else? You say weight. All 3 pshatim are right. Rashi says kaved, and on the side he says it means kavod, not kaved. So Rashi here says 2 pshatim. Either the beams were really heavy. You see these beams? You don't throw something like this. This is not something you throw. Therefore, there's all passing. No, it's 2 people.
It's just a picture.
No, from the first person to the second person.
Yeah.
Why was there a person between the 2 wagons to help?
Time out. First of all, there's items that we could carry, but we don't throw them because if I throw it to you, it'll knock you over. I don't know how heavy it was. It's not an object. It's not a small object that you toss. Now, how many people were in this wagon helping? I don't know. This is Yoni. It's just depicting a basic thing. One to the other. Now, Rashi says, kaved, they're heavy. He says on the side that in the Yerushalmi it says, kaved. And Nachman said, that'll get ruined. In fact, Rashi in Daf Dalet, Amud Beis, the second Rashi from the top, if you don't have an art scroll, you could go there and check it out. Rashi says a whole nother reason, shloi skalkel. Great. That's why they didn't throw, and therefore we have hoishata. Says the Gemara Daf Tzadik Vav Amud Beis. Michdi Zrika Tolda Dahitzahi. So, we know there's a concept called the Av and a concept called the Tolda Av, the father, the primary Melacha, and then you have the Tolda, the son, the secondary one. Yeah, secondary. I don't even know how do you say Tolda now? Great. Now there has to be a better word than secondary because subcategory. Okay, subcategory. Michdi Zrika Tolda Dahitzahi. Haitzah gufa hecha ksiva. Where does it say haitzah in the Torah? Now, we know a derivative malacha. Okay. We know that all the 39 malachas don't have to be written in the Torah. How do we know the 39 malachas? From whatever's done in the Mishkan. All of a sudden now the Gemara asks, where do you know haitzah from the Torah? So Taisus says, because of this idea of malacha grua. Since it's a malacha grua, so I need to know where is it mentioned at all. I wouldn't know it on my own just because they had it in the Mishkan that this is something you're over on. It hardly makes sense that moving to another, from one domain to the other would actually be something you're not allowed to do. When within the same domain you're allowed to do it, right? If I'm allowed to do boirer in my house, but I'm not allowed to do boirer if I go out of my house. I'm allowed to do teichen in my house. Here's something I'm allowed to carry all day long in my house, but I can't carry from one domain to the other. So therefore, the Gemara says, how do I know this? No, it's not, don't worry. It's not Corona. It's just a little... So Moshe says, stop bringing the stuff. I have way too much stuff for the Beis Hamikdash. Enough. Where was Moshe Rabbeinu? He was sitting in his camp. Why is Machne Levia Rishus Rabim? If there's only 20,000 Levim or whatever. Why? Because everybody, all Klal Yisrael, says Rashi, 600,000 came in there all day long. They were asking questions and coming and going. It was Rishus Rabim. So Shaila and Rishayim, Machlekes Rishayim, do you need all 600,000 every day? Rashi seems to be saying you need a lot of people in there. Yisrael, and Moshe Rabbeinu tells Klal Yisrael, don't bring from your domain into my domain, from your Rishus Hayachid, from your tent, Rishus Hayachid, into my Rishus Rabbi. Says the Gemara, what kind of raya is this? Who says that was on Shabbos? A. B. Dilma b'chol koi. Umeshum d'shlim ela melacha. It says before in the pasuk that the job was over, it was done. He couldn't take it anymore. There's too much. All you're saying is you don't have to bring more. Not that you're not allowed to bring more. That it's Shabbos, it's carrying. He said, finished. I have enough for the Mishkan. Says Gemara, Goma havar miyom kippurim. Okay, so now we have a limud from Yom Kippur. The ksiv hacha. Over here, by Moshe Rabbeinu, it says vayaviru kol b'machna. They blew the shofar to tell people enough. Uchsiv hasam by Yom Kippur, it says va'avar shofar trua. You should also blow a shofar. Malalam b'yoy masur, afkam b'yoy masur. In other words, just like by Yom Kippur, it's the day that causes the isser. It's not a logical reason that that there's too much sound. You're not allowed to blow a shofar. You're not allowed to do melacha on Yom Kippur because of the day of Yom Kippur. So too, the reason why Moshe Rabbeinu said stop bringing, not because he had too much, rather it was the day that asered the bringing. There was the isser of Eitzah on Shabbos. Says the Gemara, Ashkechon Eitzah. So that was a case, a very specific case of Klal Yisrael bringing from their private domain to Moshe Rabbeinu. So that is called Hachnasa, right? Ashkechon Eitzah, that's Eitzah, going from your Rishus HaYachid to Rishus HaRabim, Eitzah. Hachnasa Menol. How do I know the opposite direction? Going from Moshe Rabbeinu's Rishus HaRabim, the Machna Leviyah, to Klal Yisrael's Machna, which is Rishus HaYachid, which is called Hachnasa. How do I know that? Says the Gemara Svari. Logic. Mali apuki, mali ayule. What's the difference if I bring it in this way, bring it in that way? It's all the same. Says the Gemara, av. However, remember one thing. The Torah says, don't go from Klal Yisrael to Moshe Rabbeinu. That's what the Torah describes. So that becomes an av, that becomes the primary melacha. Av, achnasa tolda. But going the opposite direction, yes, you're right, it's usher the same way because you go from Rishus to Rishus. But that's already called a subcategory or a, what, derivative? Derivative, it's too hard for me from Panovich. Derivative, frankincense, secondary malacha. You got to keep it simple, Rabbi say, keep it simple. Remember when I used to read from the art scroll, back in the day, I would need an art scroll for the art scroll. I didn't understand half the words. All these chashuva words. Like, I'm straight off the boat from Panovich. I forgot my English. I was like, what's going on there?
Before the art school, they had the red one.
Sensino. No, but all those editors, they want to show that, you know who I am. I have a degree in English and this. Look, try to figure this word out. Shkoyach. I use you because I'm trying to figure out these words.
Those editors have a degree in English.
No, they have a degree in Hebrew. Fine. But they like to stick in that occasional word. Today, it's a lot easier, I guess.
Like the Gemara, this, the same thing.
Mendy, I hope Mendy's not listening, but Mendy used to tell me if I could slow down with my heavy English, my hard words in English. I had a good kick out of that. Yeah. No, Mendy, if you don't know, he's from South Africa, but he has a lot of Israeli roots. No, he lived here a lot. So it's like, these are very hard words you're using, Eli. Like, me? Hard words, derivative. No, that's not a hard word, I'm kidding. It's just hard for me to say. All right, what? That's, right, that was a real garbage from New York, forget about it, whatever, the simple stuff. Zag the Gemara, okay, so now the Gemara is going to tell us what we're all thinking. And we know this from the beginning of the Masechta. We have a Av, we have a Tolda. But what in the world is the difference? There is no difference. You chayiv mis on a Tolda, the same way you chayiv mis on a Av. So who cares? Call it whatever you want. It's a category and a subcategory. It's a derivative, not a derivative. Who cares? At the end of the day, you're getting the same death penalty. Says the Gemara, yeah? So call Hitzah Av and Hachnasa going from Rishus HaYachid, Rabbim into Rishus HaYachid, Hachnasa. But what nafkamina does it make to me? Aha mechayev. You chayev on both. Amai kor la'av, amai kor la'hai toldo. What's the difference? Says the Gemara, nafkamina the ovet shtei avos b'hadei adadi. If I do two avos together, what does together mean? In the same awareness. So I do kaitzer and I do ma'amer, all in the same awareness. Inami shtei toldos, or two different toldos, like we had yesterday. What's a good example? Choylev, I am milking a cow, and megavin, we remember making cheese. Not over there was mechabetz. We were talking about the dirty sack. These are toldos, right? A tolda and a tolda from two different. Milking a cow is a tolda of mefarik, of dash. It's breaking it up, and making cheese, megavin, is a tolda of baina, building. They're toldas. So the two different categories, inam ishtei tolados, ba'adei adadi, in the same awareness, mechayev tarti. You chayev two korbanos. V'ovid av v'tolda didei. However, if you do an av in the subcategory, the derivative, then you are only chayev le'mechayev el-chada. So if I were to tell you that achnasa is a av melacha, just like Hoitzah is Av Malacha, that would confuse you. You would have to bring two korbanos. If in one awareness or one unawareness, you forgot that it's Shabbos and you did a Hoitzah, you went from your house into Rosh Hashanah, and then you went from Rosh Hashanah into Rosh Hashanah, and they were both called categories. So for each category, you have to bring a korban chatas. But since Hachnasa is a tolda of Hoitzah, so if I do Hachnasa and Hoitzah within the same awareness, I bring one korban, that's it. And within the same awareness, I did Baina, so now I have to bring a second korban for Baina. But only one korban for the two malachas called Hachnasa and Hoitzah. But what do we do about Rebbe Eliezer? Rebbe Eliezer has a shita that says that you are chayiv two korbanos if you do hachnasa and hoitzah. So then why are you calling hachnasa a tolda? What good does it do for me? What is the difference? Amai kor lo av, amai kor lo tolda. According to Rebbe Eliezer, what nafkamina is it? Gary, could you get me the larger pictures over there? It's time to see what it looks like. I see Yossi Rubinstein nice and clear with the small. Victor Fold. I don't know how a Victor always gets to the center spot. Does that mean he's number one on the street? He's always in the same spot every single morning. Maybe that's the pshat. Huh? A who count? Oh, really? Wow. Maybe they have one of those programs like they have on eBay. Like back in the day, I haven't used eBay in probably 10 years, but they had a program that would buy the item for you. You put it in and it chops it for you. So maybe they have like a chopper, like like a program that chaps your first spot in Zoom. Yaakov, you should look into it because I know you're into that. Yeah, much better. All right, I see Nochem Katz now, Givaldik. I see Avid, who hasn't sent me any texts during the shir. I'm very upset at him. Oh, very good. And a big shout out to Michael Glenner. Shalom Aleichem, Michael Glenner, new face. Says the Gemara, big Yisoid. Hach tahave b'mishkan, whichever melacha that was in the Mishkan when they were building the Mishkan, chashiva, and it was an important, prominent melacha. Kari la'av. That is called an av. You want to know what's called an av? Whatever Klal Yisrael did to build, the Levim building the Mishkan, the process of building the Mishkan is called an av. It was chashiv. Hachtaloi have b'mishkan chashiva. If it wasn't in the Mishkan and it wasn't important, loy kari la'av. End the story. So yes, Klal Yisrael took stuff from Moshe Rabbeinu's camp and they brought it back to their camp. But it's not chashiv. It wasn't part of the Mishkan. The Mishkan was basically going this way, building the Mishkan, coming off the wagons, building the Mishkan.
But when you disassembled it, you did hachmasa.
Right.
So serious a malacha.
Correct. But we're talking about chashiv. What's important? What's important to us? What do people consider? What are people excited about? Excited about building the Mishkan. Mishkan chashiva. It has to be in the Mishkan and chashiv, important and like kari le'av. Inami hachde chasiva kari av. So the Gemara now comes to another pshat that whatever was in the Torah. How many melachas are in the Torah? Well, we just mentioned haitzah, but everything else basically is not in there. Havara. Hachde chasiva. This one of Moshe Rabbeinu telling Klal Yisrael, don't bring things to me. Going from Rishus HaYachad to Rishus HaRabim, kari av. And if it's not mentioned in the Torah, yes, we said misvara logically, there's no difference. You're going from domain to domain. But at the end of the day, it's not in the Torah, it's a tolda. Is there a nafkamina? No, there's no nafkamina. The same chiyuv chatos, the same chiyuv kares, the same chiyuv skila, but it's not in the Torah. It has a different name. It's called a subcategory. Says the Gemara, what about the fact that says that if you throw, here, just in case you want to know what it looks like, here's a guy throwing something above 10 tfachim. No, not handball. The opposite of handball. Why? Because this has to be a dveila shmeina. It has to be a nice, fat, juicy fig. A sticky ball. The opposite of a ball that comes hard off the wall, this sticks to the wall. Why? Spaghetti, yeah, but it has to be like a shear, a nice amount. So, a guli dvela, this is how I guess they used to play a game back in the day. See if you could stick it to the wall. Today they have that putty, that sticky stuff. What is it? Yeah. What is it called? Paintball? No, paintball just disintegrates. You need We were in New York. When I lived in Brooklyn, my brother was making a lot of noise at 11 o'clock at night. So this guy, a frum guy, screams out the window. He says, "Be quiet! What are you doing?" So B'lashon Nakiya. So my brother, he said, "I'm going to shoot you." He says, "I'm going to shoot you." A frum guy. So my brother's like, he's not going to shoot me. He's a frum guy. So because he said it, so my brother kept on talking loud. All of a sudden, here, poof, poof, 2 shots, and my brother's bleeding. And he's like, ah! He starts screaming. The guy shot him with a paintball, with a red paintball, and it stung him. And he had like blood. He thought it was blood. He started running fast. Then we had to we looked. Yeah. Chashiva neighbors in New York, Brooklyn. Mind you, this neighbor taught me how to drive when I was 14 years old. He used to buy cars in the Bronx and drive them back to Brooklyn. So he said, "Eli, you want to drive my car back? We'll drive together. I'll buy a car." So every day, without my father knowing, of course, drive to the Bronx. And I would say, "No, I want an Audi. I don't want you to buy the Buick. I need to test it." "Okay, I'll buy an Audi." So he'd buy an Audi. I'll drive. Like first time got in there, I never took a lesson in my life. Drive, shalom aleichem. Yeah, that was part of, also another story you can't write in the book. I'm not going to tell you his name. All right. Zog the Gemara, Azorik dal rams b'koisa l'malam asar tfachim kizorik ba'avir. So, if he throws this device onto a wall, now in order to be over in Shabbos, we know you have to do an akira. So he did an akira, he lifted it up. Where's the hanacha? On the wall. Above 10 tfachim. Rosh Hashanah is not above 10 tfachim. Yeah, you see on the picture over there, there's 10 tfachim. Above 10 tfachim is already not Rosh Hashanah. So says Rashi, look at Rashi, the Ramaska, Kezorik ba'avir, like a third down the page. Upotter, why is he potter? Deloy noch b'Rosh Hashanah. That's not Rosh Hashanah up there. They ain't Rosh Hashanah l'malam asara. Or Rosh Hashanah nami loy noch, but that juicy fig didn't land in Rosh Hashanah. She'enei makom mesuyim she'roch boi daled. It's not a place. It's on a wall. A wall is not a Rosh Hashanah. It might belong to Rosh Hashanah, but it doesn't have a surface. It's like hanging in mid-air. It's nishtahi nishtaher. It's not a Rosh Hashanah, not a Rosh Hashanah. And therefore, it wasn't on top of the wall. Yeah, on top of the wall, that would be great. That would be Rosh Hashanah. El b'fanav, on the face. So therefore, kizorik ba'avir, nothing. L'matam asar tfachim, but if it's below 10 tfachim, kizorik ba'aretz. Now you're chayiv. Now you're in the ear space of Rosh Hashanah, and you are chayiv. Even though it's not a place like Rosh Hashanah, it has to be a domain, a Rosh. Rosh Hashanah doesn't have to be. If it's in the ear space, if it lands like it just lands there and it's not on anything, it's also considered being in Rosh Hashanah and you're over. Now, going back to our Mishnah, look, the first words of the Perek, so how do we know the idea of zrika, of throwing? Says the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Yoshia, Shekain Argei Yeriyos, the weavers of the Yeriyos, Zarkim Machteim Zelazeh, they would toss their needles one to the other. Ask the Gemara, Argin Machtin Lamlu. Check this out. If we go back to every Masechta is going to have that picture. Here. Can't get enough of this one. It's a great one. Also from Yoni, believe it or not. Baruch Hashem, he did it in color. Does anybody see a needle here? There's no needle. This is a machine. It goes up, it goes down. We're going to be discussing this guy that holds I forgot what the archer calls it, like the bobber's weaver. Oh, wow, 3 minutes only. Fine, but there's no needle, says the Gemara. Okay, the war Rashi says that these are the people that did the embroidery. You know okay, not this, but the embroidery, the detailed embroidery. They had the needles. Says the Gemara. Who told you that they tossed it 4 amos? Because the whole Isra is 4 amos. Says the Gemara, they couldn't sit next to each other. No, they would hurt each other with the needles. You can't do that. You can't sit next to somebody with a needle. Okay, but perhaps it wasn't 4 amos. You don't have to sit 8 feet away from somebody not to get pricked by a needle. 3 feet away. Why? Who told you 4 amos? So we had Yeriyos in the Mishkan that were 4 amos wide. So they had to have a machine that's 4 amos wide. So they threw this guy right over here, this bobber's weaver, from side to side. And that was a zrika. That had says the Gemara, but at the end of the day, he doesn't leave go of it completely. He's still holding on somewhat to the thread. So therefore, it should go based on where he's at, and it's not considered that it left his domain. Says the Gemara, Benisko Basra. You're right. Typically, there's a thread, but there is no thread anymore. It's all the way at the end of the line. There's no more thread. So in that case, that last throw, when he's finished with this thread, he just threw this whole device right through. But at the end of the day, this whole loom is a makom p'tur. It's not considered Rosh Hashanah. Says the Gemara, Elo, so we have to change it up. Elo sheken arge yiriyah zorkin buchyor l'shrei aleim. To the other guy, the guy in the other loom, there are a bunch of looms set up, and one guy says, hey, do you have a barber's weaver? Here. He tosses it to him and gives it to him. But perhaps they're sitting next to each other. Says the Gemara, says the Gemara, it's not good. You can't sit next to each other because you have to stretch out, you have to this. So they couldn't sit next to each other. Says the Gemara, but they could. Maybe they were staggered. They were sitting in a way, they were very close to each other, yet their arms wouldn't hit each other because they were lined up in a way that they couldn't hit each other, says Rashi. But it doesn't even make sense that in Beis HaMikdash there was such ashirus, and it says in the pasuk, "Vatani luda ish memlachta shehema oisim memlachta oisim ve'enos memlachta chaveron." They never borrowed tools from each other. Each one had whatever they needed. Visu, that's great. You're telling me about tossing. Maver dal ramas b'shus rabin alone. How do you know the concept of carrying b'shus rabin? Elo kol dal ramas b'shus rabin. Gemara, Gemiri, Law. All right, let's stop here. Well, we have a lot of work to do, but okay. Maybe Daf Tzadik Ches looks kind of shorter. Be'ezer Hashem will catch up. Rabbi, have a wonderful day. And now, for an unbelievable rendition of a Kapitel Tehillim from Yaakov Rosedale's best friend, Nachman Seltzer, take it away. Adonai, Shmo B'Gini. Adonai, Shmo Yo, Adonai Yamo.